Hey, everybody, welcome into Player Profiler today. I'm Grindberg, and I'm officially the host of the Player Profiler Day on the Wednesday slot. I'm super pumped to be here to be your host on Wednesdays. This is going to be lit. Let's get this show going with our top story. Malik Nabers putting in some miles this week, traveling the country, doing top 30 team visits. Where will he land? And is all this attention worth So Malik Nabers traveling the country, doing all those team visits. It all started last week. Nabers been recently gaining steam as potentially the first wide receiver to come off the board, and with good reason. For the most part of this draft process, Ohio State's wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. was seen to be the clear-cut number one wide receiver in this class, but Nabers has been surging. The most recent example came last week when two teams inside the top five in the draft met with the former LSU Tigers star. The Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Chargers hosted Nabers for the pre-draft visits and met with the Cardinals last week, Tuesday, and then headed to LA for his visit with the Chargers last Wednesday. The 20-year-old had previously met with the New York Giants before his pro day, so the teams with the 4, 5, and 6 overall picks all met with the standout pass catcher. Nabers was once again busy this week. He met with the Titans on Monday, the Jets on Tuesday, and he flew to Chicago today and will fly to Indianapolis tomorrow to visit with the Colts. Nabers would be the top wide receiver in most classes in the past decade, and some people are putting Malik Nabers ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. And after his pro day yesterday, I have Nabers ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. So after his LSU pro day, the hype is only getting bigger for Nabers. He showed out. He measured exactly where he needed to be and is as close as a top tier talent as they come. He is ready to dominate in the NFL. He measured in at 6 feet, 199 pounds. He ran a 4.35 40-yard dash and has a 42-inch vertical jump. Pretty similar sizing metrics as former LSU alumni Jamar Chase. However, Nabers surpassed Chase in almost every category at LSU's pro day. Nabers had a great 2023 season at LSU and was clearly the feature piece of that offense, clearly ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. Nabers will be a featured part of any NFL team he gets into. So with his speed, his physicality, and his footwork, he should immediately be utilized as a team's alpha receiver with quality target volume. Nabers is a strong body, long arms, able to reach, extend his wingspan, and get those tough-to-catch balls. Although his route tree wasn't extensive at LSU, he has shown he can play all over the field. The D-backs won't be able to set up on the line with him and keep up with him. Nabers is a great separator, and his yards after the catch is just special. Nabers can turn a 2-yard play into a 20-yard run just with his ability with that yards after the catch. He's a great mix of size and speed. He's a threat all over the field. His yards per route run is elite, behind only Marvin Harrison Jr., and his first down per route run is ranked second in his class as well. So we're just splitting hairs here between the two. I'm higher on Nabers because I think he's just going to be a little bit cheaper to get come draft day. But if all this hype is coming in and he's getting steamed up the boards, they might be the same price, especially if Nabers can land ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. in this draft. So there are a lot of teams that are garnering interest in the LSU wideout, and there are a handful of teams in the top landing spots that could be looking at him. The Patriots being at number 3, there's rumblings about them, securing this pick and moving it for, future assets, but it's looking like a rebuild in New England. So the likely move is them either drafting a quarterback or trading out of that 3 to say maybe like the Vikings for a king's ransom. I think that's my guess. I think they're going to go after the Patriots number 3 spot, the Vikings, and I think they're going to draft Drake May in that spot, but we shall see. The Cardinals also is another likely landing spot for Nabers if he can sneak in there. the Cardinals could also be looking to move off of their pick as well. But also they could be looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. with that spot as well. He would fit in really nicely in Arizona with Kyler Murray. So it's a tough one there for me to see Nabers with the Cardinals, but it's certainly a need of position there. So especially after we saw the departure of Marquise Brown 2 weeks ago to the Chiefs in free agency, Nabers would come in and almost instantly command the lion's share target. So looking like an interesting situation coming in here. The Chargers are an also team that could be looking to trade out of their 5 spot. I'm hearing a lot of rumblings that they could be not in the market for a wide receiver. If LA holds, however, Nabers does make a lot of sense at number 5. They don't have a whole lot of cap room. They just released Mike Williams. They traded Keenan Allen to the Bears. So all this is looming. They don't have Austin Eckler anymore. So, you would think that they'd be looking for a pass catcher, but I just don't think it's in the cards for the Chargers in this draft. So I can't see Nabers landing there. This one is the one that I think, has the most likely outcome is the Giants at 6. This franchise has had a gaping hole at wide receiver for a long time. Nabers would give Daniel Jones, if they decided to stay with him, a good wide receiver. And, they have a decent, team around them that could potentially add some volume there around Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt. And the potential return of Darren Waller also looms. So I think Nabers would be a good fit with the Giants. And then another interesting one is the Jets also took him in as a visit. They had the number 10 pick, and it feels like, this is probably as far as Nabers will ever slide. If that, it would be the Jets. So, giving Aaron Rodgers another weapon alongside Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, that would just bring that team to another level. They would probably be Super Bowl contention that stage if they can stay healthy, all as a unit and start gelling. They got Breece Hall there. What a team that would be if they can, get their hands on Malik Nabers. And then another interesting one here is that he's doing a Colts visit tomorrow. That was a shocking one to me. There is, no doubt that Nabers would provide the Colts another excellent weapon alongside, Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs. But we shall see. That would be an interesting situation. Second-year quarterback Anthony Richardson coming off of that injury, I think would really use a really big-bodied wide receiver like Malik Nabers. But a lot of things up in the air there. So my gut, it says he lands with the Giants, but there's a lot more on the table here with some more visits, I'm sure, up in his near future. So next, let's hear from the Podfather about the Dynasty Deluxe package.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help to strategize where you should take players because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty Guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our Rookie Guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
Yes. It is a great deal. So thank you, Podfather, for that. And if you haven't got the Dynasty Deluxe package or the all-in package, you are missing out. There is the trade finder, the trade analyzer, the ADP tracker, the Dynasty Guide, the Rookie Guide, and the mock draft index. Like, man, there's so many tools you could use to dominate your league, and you should be getting it if you don't have it. It has it all, that package. It's a one-stop shop. It's all you need. So for the rest of the show, we're going to get into some other headlines. We'll get into some rookie visits that happened this week that Tyler on the Monday show didn't capture. And then also a free agency recap that kind of goes over the whole free agency as it stands. And if there's time, we'll get into some ADP risers and fallers from the last week, because there was quite a bit of movement that happened in the last week in the NFL. So our first story outside of our breaking news is here. Let's talk about So this is just coming in now, so I haven't got the full scope of this, but it just came in the last couple of minutes, is that the Dallas police issued an arrest warrant for Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice on Wednesday in connection to the 6-car freeway crash last month in Texas City. Rice faces 8 charges in this case, according to a Wednesday afternoon news release from the Dallas Police Department. There are 6 counts of collision involving bodily injury, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 1 count of aggravated assault. Wow. So he was indeed the driver of the Lamborghini that was involved in the multi-car crash in the Northeast Dallas on Saturday night. And his lawyer said that on a Thursday news conference. There are also rumors that there could be some drug implications with some marijuana found in the Lamborghini, but that's all speculative. So got a lot of situation happening here, and it's all coming to light here. So I'm not 100% sure on these involvement in this case, but it looks like a lot has happened in the last 24 hours as far as some charges that has been coming down on Rashee Rice. So there's been so much misinformation in this case, it's hard to keep up. And as the story continues to unfold, things just continue to get worse for Rashee Rice. He is now the driver. He's being convicted with some charges here. There could be drugs involved. If this is indeed true, a suspension is looking more likely. And everything was falling into place for Rice and the Chiefs, after last year. They weren't hitting on all cylinders. He had a great second half. He was the big bright spot of the Chiefs passing attack alongside Travis Kelce, of course. He finished with 102 targets, which is amazing considering he only played 60% of the snaps. His snap count increased as the Chiefs realized they didn't have anything outside of Kelce in the passing game. So the last 8 games, Rice averaged 78% snap count. With the addition of Marquise Brown, it was supposed to open things up for Rice this year. Unfortunately, it now puts the Chiefs in another tough spot. This could change the way the Chiefs now approach the draft, which it will. They have a glaring need at cornerback after L'Jarius Sneed left in that trade, and now they need to fill a hole with their wide receiver 1 position potentially. And there's a lot of top prospects that have been floating around the news with, could be slipping to the Chiefs. The Chiefs could look to move up. Some of these names like Xavier Worthy, Brian Thomas Jr., Adonai Mitchell, Lad McConkey, and Troy Franklin are all names that have been floated around the Chiefs. And if that were the case, I think they would have to move up to get a couple of those guys. But if one of those guys were to slide, I think they'd be have no problem pouncing in on one of those. But Rashee Rice continues to be an evolving story. And as things evolve, we here on Player Profiler News, we will tell you about it. We will be reporting it firsthand. So, that's where I come from. I come from the Player Profiler News Desk. So you can find me there and all our content there. We got a great staff there. We have been kicking butt and taking names, and that's what got me into this position. So thanks to the Player Profiler News Desk, we're going to continue to put out top-notch analyst and content out there. You're going to follow us there on Player Profiler. So Pro Bowl linebacker Josh Allen reached an agreement on a 5-year, $150 million contract that includes $88 million guaranteed money, an average of $28 million a year. Man, did he earn it. I'm glad he got paid. Last season, he finished tied for second in the NFL with TJ Watt with 17.5 sacks. His previous high was 5-year, came over his rookie season where he eclipsed 10.5 sacks. So great for Josh Allen. That's huge news for the Jaguars. They are spending this offseason, that's for sure. Former All-Pro return man Deontay Hardy is signing with the Ravens on a 1-year deal. As per Ian Rappaport, Hardy was an All-Pro returner as a rookie for the Saints in 2019. He averaged 9.4 yards per return and 28 5.6 yards per kick return that season. He averaged 10.4 yards per punt return his career and has a 25.2 yards per kick return as well. So he spent last season with the Bills, where he was primarily the team's punt returner, and will probably fill in that role with the Ravens, who lost former kick returner Devin Duvernay in free agency to the Jaguars. In other news, the Eagles will play the Packers in São Paulo, Brazil on Friday, September 6th, the day after the NFL kicks off on Thursday night, September 5th, with the reigning Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs, hosting the NFL kickoff game, and their opponent is yet to be announced. The game in São Paulo will be at the Corinthians Arena, home of the Brazilian soccer team. Should be an exciting one. There hasn't been a game played on a Friday night in the NFL in over 50 years. So it'll be pretty interesting to see a Friday night game, especially to kick off the season. Devondre Sweat, former Texas defensive tackle, was arrested on Sunday afternoon in Austin, Texas, and was charged with driving while intoxicated. The 22-year-old was named both the Big 12 Conference Defensive Player of the Year and Outland Trophy winner in 2023 after registering 2 sacks, and 8 tackles. So big news for him. He is sliding down draft boards, it looks like. There has been some issues about his character that has come into play, and maybe that is why he has been falling. Now let's get into some top 30 visits that happened this week that have been notable. So the Cardinals had Rome Odunze hosted in a pre-draft visit. I love that spot for Rome Odunze. I just don't think that unless the Cardinals move out of that spot at 4, I can't see them drafting Rome there. But if they decide to move out, I could see them, snuggling in at like the 10 or 12 spot and getting Rome Odunze there. Jonathan Brooks was a busy guy this week as well. He had a visit with the Buccaneers and the Panthers. I love that landing spot for the Panthers. That would be a really good spot for him. For the Texans, the Texans and the Buccaneers had Jonathan Brooks. There's also rumors that the Cowboys are very interested in Brooks as well, and he is a very interesting prospect in my opinion. He started 2023 on a complete tear, and then of course he tore his ACL and was looking like a lock to be a top draft pick in this draft alongside Trevion Sanders, who decided to stay one more year. So Jonathan Brooks looking like a clear-cut guy, but that ACL injury meant that we didn't get to see him at the combine. We didn't get to see him at his pro day. And for a smaller back like him, I think that would have been really important. He could have used that, to show off his elite contact balance, his patience as a runner, and also to showcase his talents as a receiver. Brooks has light, fast feet, excellent stop and start ability, enabling him to manipulate oncoming tacklers. Brooks was having himself a season in 2023 prior to his injury. In only 11 games, he had 1,139 yards rushing, 286 yards passing, and 11 total touchdowns. A complete beast in the making. There was only 2 running backs that posted 200 plus rushing yards per game in their senior years in high school, and one of them was Jonathan Brooks. So he's got a lot of pedigree there. I think with draft capital and landing spot is going to be very telling with this one. He could be sidelined for a good chunk of 2024, so he could be on a incubation period where he might just sit in an offense for 5 to 8 weeks and then explode down the stretch. So if Brooks goes to a team that is in need of a running back right away, he has the tools to be a workhorse back. I'd be good with Brooks as my number 1 wide receiver in this class if he lands in a good spot. He is the most talented, and I'm going to go with that in this class that is so up in the air. Now, another interesting visit here was Malachi Corley. He visited the Panthers in a pre-draft visit the other day, and I think that's a really good landing spot for him. I think that would be a really good release valve for Bryce Young in the slot. That would be a great spot. He didn't test at the combine. He's Debo-like. So, there's a lot of things up in the air with Malachi Corley, but, in the right kind of offense, I think he could really succeed. And, Canal is there changing that offense, bringing Bryce Young there. I think that would be a good landing spot for him, but we'll have to wait and see there. And then also the Bears brought in Marvin Harrison Jr. for a visit. So that would be a really, really interesting situation if the Bears could secure Marvin Harrison and Caleb Williams. But I think that is just too much to ask for at this stage of the game. So we are going to go into a quick recap of free agency. So we're going to start with the quarterbacks. So we had a lot of movement in the quarterback position in free agency, mainly a couple really big names here, and that is Kirk Cousins. He signed with a lot of Falcons. We talked about that in depth over the last couple of weeks. He's going to make everybody around him better. Not so much his status. He'll still finish with, his 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns around that range, but he's going to make your Kyle Pitts, your Drake London, and your Bijan Robinson share skyrocket. A lot of good news here coming out of the Buccaneers. They signed Baker Mayfield to a 3-year, $100 million deal. Awesome news for Baker Mayfield and all of the Tampa Bay faithful there. I love that situation. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are both Steelers now. Love that situation for the Steelers. They got really big upgrade this offseason at their quarterback position. I think they got a good starter that's going to come in and, win some games for them, make them competitive in Russell Wilson, and potentially, give Justin Fields a red shirt year to incubate a little bit here, potentially. Some other names that hit the market there is Gardner Minshew with the Raiders. He could potentially be starting there. Jacoby Brissett with the New England Patriots, a 1-year deal, $8 million, depending on what they do in the draft. But Jacoby Brissett could be the starter there. Jameson Williams signed with the Browns. Sam Darnold, another one there with the Minnesota Vikings, could be the starter there, depending on what they do in the draft here. So those are the notable names at the quarterback position. But Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields are the big names that hit the market and got new homes. And we're gonna love to see what's gonna happen, especially in Atlanta, with those new pass catching units that Kirk Cousins has with him. Now, let's get into what happened in the running back room in free agency, because this one was pretty darn busy, and it was tough to keep up with everything that was going on. And I think our draft class, this rookie draft class, is really taking an effect to it. So let's take a look at this running back class and what happened in free agency. So a couple big movement names here. Saquon Barkley with the Philadelphia Eagles, 3 years, $37.5 million. That's a big money for a running back. I think he fits in really good in that scheme. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have another great season. Look for him to get less touches, but more red zone looks, and he should be a really good fantasy option. One here that I really love is Josh Jacobs with the Packers, with Jones out of the way and A.J. Dillon, Namir backup. The path is clear for Jacobs to take another feature role, but this time in a young offense that's just getting going. Jacobs has rushed for 5,500 yards in his career, and he's got 46 rushing touchdowns, second to only Derrick Henry in that span. He led the NFL with 1,600 scrimmage yards and 2,000 yards from scrimmage, in 2022, and he was RB1 that year. In 2023, he missed 4 games, playing on the franchise tag, probably wasn't super motivated to make a huge cut. So the Packers are counting on a bounce back campaign from the former first round pick, and they might expect more from him as a receiving asset. There is 97 times that Jordan Love checked down to his running back last year, and I think Josh Jacobs is going to see the lion's share of those. I think he's going to see 75% snap share. I don't see A.J. Dillon being a threat unless the Packers bring in a rookie, which could happen in the draft to bring in some competition, but I still think that is Jacobs' backfield. Now, Derrick Henry signed with the Baltimore Ravens. I love that for the Ravens. Gives them their goal line back, 2 years, $16 million deal. great news for the Ravens. I think that brings him in contention again. I think that gives them a really, really a dual threat in their backfield with Lamar Jackson, running the ball a lot. But he doesn't rush a lot of touchdowns in, and I think Derrick Henry is going to really help their red zone offense and efficiency there. Now, Tony Pollard signed with the Titans. To quote my boy Biggs, I ain't worried about Tajay Spears because of Tony Pollard, and I agree with my friend Biggs. Tajay Spears is going to play well next year. He's going to get his opportunities. He may not get the lion's share that we hope for, but he is very efficient with his opportunity. He's going to see more playing time than he did last year. So he is a buy for me. In his rookie season, Spears carried the ball 100 times for 453 yards, 2 touchdowns, but also caught 52 of his 70 targets for 385 yards and 1 touchdown. Although he only touched the ball 156 fewer times than Henry, he registered a 52% snap share. So that is going to come into play. Tony Pollard is not going to take 270 rushes and 30 receptions. He's not going to deem that. Who's going to benefit from that? That is going to be Tajay Spears, and Tajay Spears is got a lot of talent. He's ultra effective with his he's ultra efficient with his opportunity. So when he has the balls in his hands, he's effective. He averages 4.58 yards per touch, 5th in the league, 26.3 evaded tackles per touch rate, 4th in the league. Despite his limited volume, Spears is a showcase his talent. He is awesome. So you were hoping for him to get the full reign of that backfield. It's not going to happen, but if one of those guys goes down to injury, the other one is going to excel. So it was a head scratcher, but I think it's a really good situation still for Tajay Spears. Austin Eckler with the Commanders. That's going to be an interesting situation that's going to unfold. There was rumors of him playing injured for most of the year last year. That's why they deemed him a little bit less effective. So we'll have to see about that. DeAndre Swift signs with the Bears, which is a good deal for him. I only see Swift as a complimentary kind of back. I love Roschon Johnson in that offense. I think they're going to be a really good 1-2 punch. So we'll see what happens in that situation. Zach Moss with the Bengals. Devin Singletary with the Giants. Now that's a situation that's going to probably deem for a running back in the draft. So look for the Giants to add some more competition there. So quite a bit of movement in the running back rooms. And, there's going to be a lot more after this draft unfolds to see where these running backs land. So we're going to cover now the wide receivers, what happened in wide receiver rooms in free agency. So after the first couple of days of free agency, that kind of there was a lot of buzz because there were some big names that were going to hit the market. But before that even happened, T. Higgins got tagged. Michael Pittman re-signed his contract. So some of the 2 big names already got off the market. And then it followed by Mike Evans, who re-signed with the Buccaneers, 2 years, $41 million. First ballot Hall of Famer Mike Evans finally getting some respect put on his name and is going to get paid at the age of 30. The guy gets disrespected year after year. Mike Evans has produced no matter who his starting quarterback has been. At age 30, it was arguably his best season in the NFL. 1,300 yards almost, 3rd best finish in his career, 127 targets, 6th best in his career, 13 touchdowns. 2nd best in his career, 13 touchdowns, man. That was huge. 10 straight years, 1,000 yards, 12 or more touchdowns in 5 out of 10 years played, 8 or more touchdowns in 7 of 10 years. This guy is a Hall of Famer in the making. Mike Evans, congratulations. Pumped for you. Here's to another couple of years of 1,000-yard seasons coming your way. Marquise Brown signed with the Chiefs. Hollywood, 1 year with my back-to-back Super Bowl champion Chiefs. It gives them a legit threat that will stretch the field. It gives them a much-needed veteran presence weapon on the outside to pair with Travis Kelce and potentially Rashee Rice. Mahomes and Andy Reid now have their weapon to deploy and make history at winning back-to-back championships. I'm looking forward to seeing Hollywood in there. Hopefully he doesn't need to be their number one target. But we'll have to see what happens now. This Rashee Rice situation is ever evolving. Now, Calvin Ridley signed with the Tennessee Titans, 4 years, $92 million. Man, they are bank trucking it up, and they are spending money, the Titans. Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed, Josh Allen, a lot of money going out there. So we're going to have to see what's going to happen with the Titans. Sorry, Josh Allen with the Jags, my bad. Darnell Mooney with the Atlanta Falcons, 3 years, $39 million. I think that's going to be a sneaky play. Curtis Samuel signed with the Buffalo Bills. So now that after the Diggs move, that really is an interesting situation now. That catapults Curtis Samuel to the number one receiving position. They're obviously looking at whatever options they have in the draft with their first round pick. They're at 28 right now, sitting at it. They could look to move up in the draft. I'm hearing the Bills are looking at, making some aggressive moves, potentially getting into the top 3 wide receiver range. So it'd be nice to see a Rome Odunze or a Malik Nabers alongside Josh Allen. That would be awesome to see, but we'll have to wait and see there. But a lot of movement still in the works here. Now, some of the lower end names here coming in, Noah Brown re-signed with the Texans, KJ Osborne with the Patriots, Braxton Berrios with the Dolphins, Mac Hollins with the Bills. So some lower end names here that we're not going to really pay too much attention on, but one more big name that got traded over to the Carolina Panthers, and that's Deontay Johnson. And I really like Deontay Johnson this year. I think he's going to be a target hog in that offense. I think he's going to be a very good outlet for young Bryce Young. And I think Canales is going to do wonders with Bryce Young, and having Deontay Johnson there is going to make or break them. So it's going to be a good situation there. Now let's move on to the tight ends. There's a couple tight end situations here, not super noteworthy, but things that we got to kind of cover here. Dalton Schultz re-signs with the Texans. They're meaning that they are bringing in the talent to put around CJ Stroud, and they are making a push at a Super Bowl while he's still on his rookie contract. Hunter Henry with the Patriots, Noah Fant with the Seattle Seahawks, and then another interesting one here is Gerald Everett signs with the Chicago Bears, 2 years, $12 million. That's an interesting situation after that 70 target season that Cole Kmet has. So we will see what happens there in Chicago. But Irv Smith signed with the Chiefs as well. So bringing in a pass-catching tight end there for the Chiefs, not known for his blocking capabilities. So kind of a head-scratcher there for me, but we shall see what happens there. Now, that's about our 30-minute show here. We covered quite a bit, folks, on today's show. We covered some free agency. We covered the breaking news. We went over Malik Nabers and his landing spots. Thanks for tuning in today. It's been a humbling experience joining the Player Profiler today. I'm Grindberg. I'm your host for the Wednesday show slot. I'm excited to be reporting the news for Player Profiler. Moving forward, you can find me here on Wednesdays. You can also find me and all my content on X at FF Canuck. So that is it for today. Be sure to stay tuned for our next episode of Player Profiler today. Always catch us on 6 p.m. Eastern time. So make it a great night, everybody. Let's win some championships. We'll see you all next week.